Namaste, friends. Many blessings to you, and welcome, Mercury retrograde. So happy to have you on this live right now as we explore the cycles of this month of October, a very intense month astrologically. I got my little Taurus shirt on here, a Minotaur from Crete, and excited to share with you. Not so much Taurus action this month, but lots of Libra and Scorpio energy in the sky. And I really wanted to create this video because we have a new moon coming up on Wednesday. And it's a very strong new moon because it's conjunct the planet Mars. And there is a lot of energy behind this. It's also in a relationship opposite to Chiron. So it's a wonderful time to receive mentorship, coaching, guidance, and healing, especially around Mars-related concepts, which have to do with sexuality and passion, our desire, our drive, and definitely the masculine energy. This could be a really important time for all of us to explore the wounded masculine in society, and especially in men right now, and the balance between the masculine and the feminine energies. This is a big topic of conversation for us because over the last 3 weeks, Venus, the goddess of love and intimacy and affection, has been in the sign of Scorpio, which is Mars' sign. And Mars has been, since the middle of September, in the sign of Libra, which is Venus' sign. So we have the god and goddess, the sacred masculine and feminine, Venus and Mars, in each other's signs. And there's something really beautiful with this because it's like the archetypes of the god, goddess, the divine, masculine, feminine, can hear each other, can listen to each other, can kind of get inside each other's worlds more. But the challenge here is that in astrology, these planets, Mars and Venus, are in what we call their exile or their detriment in these signs. Now, detriment or exile is a term that relates to how well a planet can function in the sign that it's in. Meaning, here's the example, right? Venus is naturally about harmony, about partnering, about beauty, about grace, about flow, and being in this very kind of harmonic state of being. But in Scorpio, in Mars's domain, right? Scorpio is, and Mars in general is not about that. Mars is about aggressive passion, desire, going for what we want, sometimes conflict and aggression in the name of that desire, defensiveness or irritation. So that peace that Venus loves is not easily achieved here. Now Mars is in Libra, and Mars gets frustrated in Libra because Mars wants to go for what it wants, drive towards its desires and have them met, meet its ambitions and achieve without any kind of blockages or obstacles in its way. And when Mars is in Libra, it has to turn to the partners, it has to turn to people around it and almost like get approval to act. And there is a lot of negotiation that needs to happen. And the general, the god of war, Mars, Aries, doesn't like to negotiate. It just wants to go and do. And so we're trying to compromise. We're trying to adjust ourselves. But there is, this can take a lot of time. And so then that passion, that will inside of us gets frustrated, right? And so there is this really delicate dance right now when the planets are in each other's signs. They have a mutual reception, we call it in astrology, through that, but they don't really know how to exist very well naturally in those signs. So now there is there's kind of this, this month, there's kind of this soundtrack to the month, which I think of it as like a gothic ambient soundtrack that can be kind of building this volcanic energy as we move from the new moon to the full moon. And the reason is because this new moon which is on the 6th, on Wednesday. It's conjunct Mars. So it motivates us, it drives us, especially towards these relationships in our life and towards learning how to cultivate deep listening, Libra, and what it means to be in fair and balanced and equal partnership. But there's a lot of process that has to happen in this. And the processing also has to do with the fact that Mercury is retrograde in Libra and has been for about a week now. But this is not just any Mercury retrograde. It's a Mercury that has been squaring Pluto. And so it's been bringing up all of this unconscious and all of this shadow material and sometimes very dramatic energy. I have this quote that I want to share with you from, I teach a lot about Stoicism as well as Shaiva Tantra. I'm teaching a course with both of those combined together right now. And Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, he says this phrase, which is really appropriate for right now because Mercury-Pluto can be quite devastating in its languaging. It can be very destructive, very divisive, very dark, very much about kind of manipulative or controlling type of speech. We have to be very, very cautious with this. And Epictetus says, be silent for the most part. Or if you speak, say only what is necessary and in a few words. Be silent for the most part. Or if you speak, say only what is necessary and in a few words. Talk, but rarely, if occasion calls you. But do not talk of ordinary things. But above all, do not talk about men in blame or compliment or comparison. This is a very, very important quote related to our cycles right now because Libra, one of the shadows of Libra is gossip and also putting up facades where everything looks good on the surface and we're talking that way. But really below that, we may have others speaking behind our backs or we might do the same. And Epictetus, the great Stoic philosopher, and remember Stoicism, as well as a lot of philosophy, its whole intention is to make us more virtuous, to live with the highest moral character as possible. And the Stoics are pretty keen on the idea that most of the time our speech takes us out of morality. We don't speak very ethically a lot of the times. Think about how much of our speech is critical, is negative, is divisive, is also very not only critical but complaining. Yeah, and especially right now where we have this very divisive topic with vaccines and what people should or shouldn't do, and the whole concepts of should and shouldn't can really be coming up in a deep way right now. And this can create this idea where we really want peace, Mars and Libra, but it's kind of an oxymoron to try to fight for peace. It's like I'm going to aggressively push that we need to be peaceful with each other, but you got to see it my way, and I can't see it yours, but I'll try, but I can't. And this can create some this inner heat, like a passive aggressive energy with each other. So we have to be careful that remembering that diplomacy, real diplomacy, right? This is Libra energy. Whether that's in our love relationships, business, in politics, it really requires that we listen. And it's the art of listening with an open heart, the art of the open heart. And that means we're not listening with an agenda, but more out of curiosity to really understand another, to really support another. And that's Libra's magic, right? With the I'd be most supportive as a partner, as a collaborator, as a colleague, as a lover, right? Coming from that place of real curiosity there, and not from a place of declaring what's right or not. So compassionate connection and communication can go a long way this entire month, because what's happening is we're or not. So compassionate connection and communication can go a long way this entire month, because what's happening is we're really building an energy that's going to get very explosive during the full moon. But before that, we have Venus. Venus has been in Scorpio, as we said, and that can trudge up all of the darker energies around sort of drama or kind of power within relationships, as well as the potential to do some very deep alchemical work with our shadow material with each other, and requires transparency. I keep coming back to this phrase that ultimate intimacy requires ultimate transparency, right? Like, in transparency, like the vulnerability to truly be ourselves and to not be judged for that, right? Which means we have to hold that space as well for another or for each other. Venus will finally raise herself out of the underworld of Scorpio and move into Sagittarius on the 7th. And that can give us a lot more positive energy, like a little bit more upbeat. Sag is very optimistic and usually quite hopeful and inspired, and it can make us want to like teach each other and breathe like Tantra and other wisdom traditions into our relationships, and maybe take some trips together, or get excited about learning together, and be more playful. We could do mantra practices together with each other. Again, some spiritual component that can guide our relationships. So you can work with a god or a goddess and do a mantra practice, or do your yoga practice together, or read spiritual philosophy together, and really connect on that level when Venus is in Sagittarius. However, right as she moves in over this big weekend ahead of us, she is going to touch the South Node, the karmic, sort of the karmic heart of our collective experience. The South Node is where we have been, sort of collectively remembering, recollecting our kind of a collective soul memory. And this means that we think of the South Node as some kind of karmic completion cycle that's happening. So when you put Venus there over this weekend, really, even though she's in this upbeat, positive, inspired sign of Sagittarius, there can be a sense that we are going to engage with some karmic partnerships here. Some people that we might interact with between the 8th and the 12th could feel like they are karmic connections. We've known them in other places and times. We're working out a very deep soul theme with these relationships. We also might, maybe it's not that person particularly, but it's a process we're going through, especially around our values, including money, including how we spend our time and our energy, and definitely our heart, our love, our attractions, our intimacy, our needs for that. Venus relates to our essential needs. All of that will feel like, whoa, I'm kind of rehashing something I've been through before. And so we might literally attract old lovers into our life, kind of like a mini Venus retrograde. We might, again, come back to themes that we've worked with in our soul's journey around relationships. So it's a really important weekend, whatever's happening for us. And we want to be full of careful with how we engage. And remember, again, that Mercury's retrograde. So taking the extra time, patience, love, heart space with each other to really listen, to make sure that we're clear, to discern what's healthy or not for us in terms of how we engage, what's healthy or not for us in terms of how we engage, the kind of speech that we're using, the level of intimacy we're going to with others, and just really staying in our heart space and trying to create a healthy container for us to ritually engage with each other. Look at things like texting and voicemails and Facebook chatting, Messenger and Instagram. Like, how do you prefer to communicate in relationship? Maybe that's a value you want to explore. Do you and your partner have different ways of approaching your day and your time? What are your love languages together? Is it quality time? Is it gifts? Is it acts of service? Really explore those love languages together. See where you are or aren't meeting there. And again, exploring like social life and friendships and how those are influencing your love relationships, and what you desire or not in connection. This month as well, there is a real forward thrust on any projects or parts of our life that may have felt frustrated or delayed. And this is because we have all these planets. This is very unusual. We have all these planets going direct. We have Pluto going direct right on the new moon on October 6th. Then we have Saturn going direct on October 10th at 6 degrees of Aquarius. And then Jupiter and Mercury both go direct on the same day, which is October 18th at 22 Aquarius for Jupiter and at 10 Libra for Mercury. Now Mercury, when Mercury goes direct, he will be opposite Chiron, like Mars is now. And so this might, again, reveal some wounded elements within ourselves, especially around personal sovereignty. And again, get back to the theme of what is right relationship for me? How do I feel that I need or want to be heard, received, partnered, and how can I do that for another? And this is going to require healing during that station of Mercury on the 18th. But look at Saturn and Jupiter. It's so interesting because they're in Aquarius, and that's where they had that conjunction, that grand conjunction last December. That part of your chart, that house, is getting a huge forward movement now. There can be ways that you can crystallize, solidify, concretize, discipline, focus, manifest in that house, Saturn. And you can also feel like some opportunities are now there, some abilities to even teach around those themes, Jupiter in that house, or expand, grow yourself, have some fortune around the themes of that house, but through the hard work of Saturn, through the discipline, practice of Saturn. So that house where Aquarius is for you is really active with this shift of Jupiter and Saturn going direct. And also if you have any planets near these degrees I said before, they're going to go through a realignment process this month and in really a forward movement. So again, we are moving towards this full moon, which is a huge full moon that's coming at 27 degrees of Aries. This is on October 20th. And it's an Aries full moon, again, so it does highlight, again, the needs of our individual selves to come into sovereignty, to find our own path, to risk and dare into being authentically who we are, right? This is challenging this month with all the Libra energy, with all the needs to look towards others. And remember another quote from Epictetus, which has to do with this idea of not seeking approval outside of ourselves, which is a big challenge right now. We're looking for that. We always do in our lives. And the Stoics were really strong about the idea that externals, things that we can't control, are never something we should put our energy towards. We should always be putting it towards that which we have the ability to really govern within ourselves. And other people's opinions of us, we can't really control that. We can only really be our own sacred witness and act in integrity every step of the way, and know that we do that within ourselves, because others may judge that we're not doing that, and it really will come back to us to know that truth within our own hearts. And the Stoics were really keen on that. So as we approach that full moon, let's take that into consideration and know that during that full moon, the days before it and right after it, the sun is approaching this square to Pluto, and then we'll be past the square to Pluto the days after. Mars is close behind. So we have Sun and Mars squaring Pluto. And now we're in similar territory to where we've been the last 10 days as Mercury's been squaring Pluto. squares to Pluto, it's bringing us right to the edges of our uh, uh, you know, ability to navigate our unconscious material. This is a time and this is a month where we have to do some deep psychological work. Why am I acting the way I am? Why have I always done this, that? Um, why do I track these kinds of relationships in my life? What the same kinds of people again and again? What is a karmic partnership? What is a dharmic partnership? That which moves us towards our destiny or our soul alignment, right? Um, Pluto asks why. And so it's really important for us to research, to investigate, to study the esoteric and the occult this month, especially related to relationships, Libra types of themes. Um, but when you have Sun and Mars, masculine planets, square Pluto, there is potential for some pretty big fireworks going off. And the fireworks are not necessarily as about excitement as they are about like cathartic, intense, sometimes dramatic energies. And we really need to watch big power struggles or control issues, themes around dominance and submission. Now, that can be fun if we apply that consciously in the bedroom, right? This could be a great way to work with Mars square Pluto, right? Okay, I'm going to give up all my control right now. I'm going to be in a submissive role. Beautiful. Oh, then I can see how much I love to be in control in my life, and I need to work with that, right? Or let me play out control through this bondage, discipline, sadomasochism exercise in a relationship. And let me play that out to its fullest, right? So that I don't become completely governed by that in my relations. So that's another way we can think about working with the Sun and Mars squaring Pluto as we move towards this full moon. It's kind of this, it's like the ultimate boxing match, right? And the question becomes like, what are we fighting for? Why are we fighting? Can we fight for peace? And what adds a spice to this is Eris. There is this, you might know about this heavenly body out there, kind of heavenly, asteroid named Eris. Eris was the goddess of discord. And in the myth, she is sort of the impetus behind the Trojan War in the Greek history. It's all about this question of who's the most beautiful, right? And then this causes this whole war. Well, Aries is very slow moving, but she's at 23 Aries. And this will be close to where this full moon will land. And it's where Mercury retrograde has been opposite. It's where Mars and the Sun will come into an aspect with this. So discord, right? What kinds of battles and conflicts, discordant energy, dissonant energy, right? Are we creating in our life, in our relations? What's causing that, right? And really, what does power really mean for us? Are we trying to achieve power over something or someone? Or is power about knowing who we truly are? Course in Miracles teaches about this too, that the ego loves to create the division. The ego loves to create, one side and the other, the left and the right, the conservative and the liberal, and all of that dualism, right? The idea of right and wrong. But when we understand that not only are we interconnected and interdependent, but that the same consciousness, the same awareness is living, pulsating, scintillating in all beings, right, in everything, right? And if we've done any kind of work with psychedelics or entheogens, medicines, if we've done types of breath work and therapies could be very helpful to remember that so that other parts can be born. But if we stay open to synchronicity, to serendipity, to love and real intimacy and openness and wow and wonder and beauty, then the divine can reveal itself. And in Tantra, that's called anugraha. It's the divine revelation. It can take place in every moment of our life. When we're looking at a flower, when we're hearing a song, when we're staring at a stranger's eyes, anything can take us to that space of of wonder and reconnect us to the divine that is permeating or pervading everything. So if we do get irritated when we do this month, because we will, if we do get a conflict is coming up, if we get angry or jealous or possessive or any of those qualities, those intense emotions, we want to offer that to a higher part of ourselves, to a deeper part of ourselves, to the divine part of ourselves. Offer that, and almost like you think of it, putting it into the fire, like this is the puja in a lot of the Indian traditions, where you offer that to the fire and the deity within yourself. In that moment you make the offering, you let go of that kind of egoic or personal attachment to it. And instead of feeling separate and in that intense emotion, you offer that and come back or return to that wholeness, that oneness that you truly are. That's one of the biggest invitations this month. So there's a lot happening. I hope that's been interesting, enlightening to you as you approach the month ahead, and that you do it with compassion in your heart. This has been Verdelus from Divine Timing Coaching. Look forward to offering you more videos soon and an upcoming training in relationship astrology. So stay tuned for that. Namaste.